yeah, this is going to be brilliant because it's an Amiga 600 keyboard, as you can see. And it looks in really good nick, that actually. It looks in really good condition. Wow, that's excellent. Aha, I'm so pleased with that. Look at that, it looks really nice. They've got a nice appearance, these, compared to the keys on the other Amigas. It's like they've been manufactured by a completely different company or something. It's certainly different plastic. I want to say soft touch, but it's not. You know, they've got a bit like the Mitsumi, you know, the old, what's it, the high-tech ones, the high-tech keyboards. So yeah, that looks pretty good. The ribbon looks alright. I don't really see any damage there. So yeah, that is amazing. So I'll put that on the desk. Wow, that looks in pretty good condition as well, I think. Let's just try and free it from that. Wow, that looks immaculate. Whoop. Yeah, so it definitely needs a recap. But look how nice and clean that board is. That is really nice. Really nice. Oh, I can't wait to get working on this. And the nice thing I just spotted, I've got the power cable here for the floppy drive. So let's move the amazing Plus 4 out of the way, and we'll look at that in another video for sure. I'm so excited about these things, he said. It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So wrist strap on, and let's not get too excited and cause some damage. Let's give this a try. I am going to try this. Now, I know I've talked about corrosion repairs in the past, and I've said that, you know, if you've got loads and loads of corrosion, don't power it on, you'll kill something. I've had a good look around this, and I do see the typical corrosion just in one or two places around here. There's been an attempt to reflow that. There's one or two other things reflowed. Something up here been reflowed. Those caps look different, like they've been replaced, but I still see corrosion, so maybe it was just, I don't know, a short, you know, bodge fix or something, just to try and get this up and running, to ascertain the state of it. So maybe it's got a fault, I don't know, because this is what we're about to discover. So I'll get the TV on. The things you might want to do is maybe go on one of the 7.4 series, check between ground and VCC to make sure you've not got short. But yeah, I'm just going to be throwing caution to the wind a little bit here and connect the power supply up. I'm just going to hook that back there just to try and remove the strain on this point here, because one thing I've noticed with this, I use it a lot and it gets bent right like that. I don't want it bending like that anymore. Switch it on. Is white normal with this version of Kickstart? I don't know. Maybe it is. I think the earlier versions of yeah, it is, there we go, the earlier versions of Kickstart 2, they go white, which is something I've forgotten about, so I'll do that again. I'll switch it back on. We get sync first of all, I think. No we don't, because the TV's doing it. It's a Sony thing, thanks Sony. Yeah, it goes black, and then it goes white, like that, and then we get the normal sort of purple Kickstart 2 screen. I'm just going to have a look at the version of the ROM. It's 304-02 version 2.05 37.350. I can never remember. Oh, it says that there, 37.350. I can never remember if that's the one that has the problem with IDE or not. So actually I think we should try IDE. So it's amazing that that's working. Now bear in mind these only have 1 meg. This is what this is for here. It's just wee little memory upgrade slots. So I think I'll have a look. I might even try and buy a kit, one where you build it yourself, a 1 meg upgrade for this, because it's got the 8375 here. It's the PAL version, the -10 on the end. I think there's only one of those that's got a -10. It's like 318069-10, and it's marked a VBB. The interesting thing is I fitted one of those in a 500 Plus recently. It was the one where it had a fixed Agnes, where I soldered some pins back on my mate Vince's channel. There'll be a link to that top right. But I needed another one of these for something else, and actually as things turn out, I think I'm going to need another one of these. And these are getting incredibly expensive, like analogic prices £90 to £95 or more. Maybe 110 I think I saw last week actually. So those have gone nuts, and this is the thing, you look at the value of the chips on this, you know, you've got, I was going to say an Alice, you don't have an Alice. What's this here? It's a Gale, yeah, you have a Gale. And then you've got the CPU, you've got the Agnes, obviously, the 8375, and then we've got the Super Denise, that's the other thing on these, and then you've got a keyboard controller I think, and then a couple of CIAs, the PLCC ones. What's that? 8364. Oh, of course, that's Paula. Yeah, and then 1 meg of RAM. What else? You've got the compact flash, you know, PCMCIA. It's the same thing with an adapter. Compact flash will go in there, PCMCIA socket, and then IDE on board via Gale over here. I'm not sure how the IDE compares in performance to the one on the 1200. It's probably the same thing lifted and shifted, to be fair. Yeah, and the transceivers down here I think are for this. Yeah, you've got the same thing where the ROM socket has got one additional pin here, and there's a little arrow showing to the right. You've got to have it right aligned. So yeah, your pin 1 doesn't go to up here, it's the next pin down. But I'm surprised that despite the fact this has, you know, had a leakage in the past, it's booting okay, isn't it? We haven't got any reset problems, because this is the problem out. It'd be a link top right, so when we looked at Stu Roro's. Yeah, and that was very cool. And ever since I worked on that, I always wanted a 600. We've got the keyboard as well. I could connect the keyboard up, but before we do, let's just try IDE. Now we've got a couple of these little adapters here. They've got an SD card in. That one says OK, and I think it's got a 1200 build that's smeared off there. I'll have to rewrite that. So yeah, pin 1 red stripe, pin 1 down here. I have inspected the pins. They look all right. They need cleaning, but they're all there as far as I can see. Let's just try get that on. And I'm just going to get something plastic. Let's use this Cavanos cam remote. Just stick that under there. Because there's no screw points. No, there aren't. Hang on. No, there aren't. It's just plastic. So we'll just put that there and switch it on. Now bear in mind that version of Kickstart, there you go, was set up on a 1200. So that's the thing. I actually think that's not going to work, is it? What I probably need to do is, let's just carefully try and take that off without bending the pins. So we'll try a compact flash card there. Yeah, and I do have a few different compact flash cards here. Got some data ones. We've got 1200 OK slow. Let's try that. I'm thinking the Gale stuff might work the same way on a 600 as it does on the 1200. I'm not sure they have the same Gale actually. It might be a different Gale chip, but it could be the same thing. I mean, it would make sense to be the same thing, wouldn't it, when you think about the IDE? So let's try that. Again, I'll put that under there. Oh, it doesn't need it. Switch it on. I'm not sure there's an LED on here that you can see. It might be around that side if it was going to illuminate. But you see, it could have the version of the Kickstart here that it doesn't like cards over a certain size, like over 2 gig or something. There was an early one, and I'm thinking the part number that's on there is that early one. I mean, that will be amazing if it actually boots up. Oh wow, it has. That's incredible. So the IDE works as well. We're not going to have much to do on this one, are we? It's just going to be a recap, just plugging the mouse in. Thankfully the mouse is not like on the 1200 where it's on a cable or some little sub-PCB. Oh, I'm amazed. That's incredible. The video looks really good as well, doesn't it, considering it's potentially on its original caps by the looks of things. Let's try loading a game. We've got sound connected up. Let's put Cadaver on. I quite like the music on that. Cadaver's one of those games where the intro and the music doesn't really match the game. In other words, it's like I was blown away with the intro and the music and thought, this has got all the hallmarks of like a... Hang on, can't I allocate Shadow Man? Yeah, it's got all the hallmarks of being an amazing RPG, and well, it didn't turn out that way. Yeah, we've not got enough RAM there now. Let's try Cabal. Although we need keyboard to start that one, I think. I'm trying to see if something will load. Can't allocate Shadow Man. Let's just see if we can start maybe Time Gal or something from the compact flash card. That might work. Because that's not using WHD load. Got 63k left there. Free look. No, I don't think that started. So we know it works. So I am going to now get the wrist strap back on again. Just going to recap it. Now I've got a cap kit that came from Retro Bench here for a 1200. I had a couple of these surplus ones still left over. One of them I'm going to keep just in case I do need to do Novabug's 1200 at some point, because he's mentioned that a number of times. But if I bring Cavanos cam down here, I'll just disconnect the ID as well, actually, just try and get that off there without bending it. Yeah, I'm going to use both irons here and have a go at replacing the caps, but we're going to do these one at a time. And the reason being is because that cap kit is from a 1200. And, well, yeah, I mean, I could look up some sort of cheat sheet. Let's just move that a bit higher up. Yeah, I could find a cheat sheet for the capacitors here, or make a note as I go along. But I just want to do them one at a time. Yeah, so, oh, look at that. It's pretty blooming fuzzy around there, isn't it? Yeah, so it's good that you can see this now better than ever. What I do is, usually under magnification, is scratch. And it's going to wobble a bit because the camera arm, or microscope arm, is on the table here. But, yeah, I do that. Yeah, ignore the bouncing. Just on the actual pad. You know, you want to avoid like where the trace goes, because you could scratch the point of, you know, connection there, and then, well, you've got proper damage to deal with. But if you just get, you know, a little bit of shininess there, and what we're scratching off here are the oxides. You know, when you get the corrosion, the electrolyte can be attracted to that. You get some of that on the surface there, but you get, you know, oxides, rust, basically different types of you know, corrosion on there. But if we now try and squeeze some solder and flux onto that, so the band is at the top on this cap, and sometimes, look, nothing will join. Yeah, and then other times you might look out. Let's see if we have more success with this side. It does look a wee bit more silvery there, but look, see the solder's going on the wrong side of the tip. Oh, wow, that stinks. Yeah, just occasionally try and clean the tip. It's a bit cleaner. It still looks awful, that tip. I think I need a new tip on this iron, don't I? You know me, it's like I make the crustiest tips last forever. Wow, that is not melting at all. This is one of the worst of these I have seen, really, because by now, usually, I would have been able to solder there, so it's just... And the other thing that perhaps I didn't do here that I would usually do, actually, is clean around with cotton bud first with some vinegar. So I am going about things slightly differently here. And of course the lighting is the thing that makes a difference as well. Let's try the other iron. Yeah, let's use the Antex. It's just got a different shaped tip here. It might just allow us to focus the heat a little bit better. Yeah, they are really bad. Really bad. Yeah, that's tinned a little bit. Can you see? It's a little bit silvery. This iron doesn't produce much in the way of, you know, thermal power either, so it's like I'm more comfortable just using this one here. Just try and tin these up. There we go, got a bit on there as well, looks a little bit shiny. So band to the top, going to use both irons at once. It's quite hard to do under magnification this way, because, well, I don't usually do it this way. There we go, just lift that off carefully, put them aside. Carefully put the irons down without wrapping all the wires around each other. Get a wee little bit of flux there. Some of these things nearby I'll perhaps reflow with some flux as well, but we may not need to. After we've cleaned up, you might, well, I don't know, we'll just see how they look. So I'm just going to bob into that with braid. Just get the initial bit of solder off. Still looks terrible. Yeah, just cutting the braid back because it sort of splayed out towards the end there. And this is the difference between good quality braid and bad braid. Good braid will stay, you can see it splaying again at the end there, will stay in one piece. This cheap stuff doesn't, and look, you squash it down, it spreads out. Yeah, and I've talked about this briefly on other videos where I go for the squeaky sound, and you know, you want to do this, you're getting a bit of friction. Hang on, if I can get it on there. Yeah, I haven't got stereoscopic vision here, so that makes it harder. Yeah, you want to use the friction of the thing there on the pad. Yeah, and then you can actually get most of the contamination off. That still looks awful, so let's now clean with cotton bud, and then we'll clean the wider area around there, get a little bit more flux, reflow what needs reflowing, and maybe give those pads one more clean. So just IPA here really. I should use some vinegar. I'm going to do that next. Just going about this in a completely different way to usual. Right, anyway, at least I've got the flux off around there. So I'll go around with some vinegar. So it's not too bad, but that is not as clean as I would like that pad, or those pads. Right, wider areas visible there now. I've just pulled back a little bit. I'm just going to clean around here with some vinegar. We don't need to go too far afield because, well, that corrosion has not travelled that far. It has gone down here slightly, which it usually does. But I mean, you can see just with the initial clean up with a bit of vinegar there, that's pretty good. There's a cap there, that looks awful, that looks awful. Yeah, so not too bad with the initial vinegar clean. And then we'll use the fiberglass pencil now. See if we can get a bit more light. There we go. So yeah, pretty bright there on the light now. But what I'll tend to do is just go around all of these solder points this way. Yeah, these pads here can sometimes cause you problems on these, can't they? I think that was what the problem with Stu Roro's machine was. And these vias, that one there doesn't look so good, does it? That looks awful. Is that a via? I think it is. Just on that trace there. Might not be. Yeah, and you can rotate if you know, not trying to block the camera like I am. A lot of the stuff you see coming off, it literally is just dust. These things here, they haven't got corroded. They just look a little bit dirty, really. So we'll now clean up with cotton bud and some IPA. You know what, those cap pads aren't bad. There's just a tiny bit of solder at the bottom I still see. You know, just down here, the very bottom, there's a little bit of solder still there. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I will toothbrush that after we've got the cap on. So, yeah, points of concern here. If there were any faults here, well, you've got a via here. Yeah, that's potentially a problem, and a via there, look. And, yeah, they don't look so good, do they? So let's just gently just try and scratch that just marginally. You can see what I've done there. I managed to get the oxides off the surface, but that's the sort of thing you might need to block. That one looks alright. There's a bit of solder or something there, discoloration, look, that's come off. And is this a via? I can't honestly see what that is, or is that just a reflection on the board? No, it's a via. So yeah, these two here, they're on a main rail, look. I think it comes down here. Just don't look so clever. And I think because of that, what I'm just going to do while I do my soldering before I do my cleanup is just get some vinegar on a cotton bud and just blob there like that. There we go, and there. And just leave that there. Just to make sure that those are dealt with. But you could measure them and check them and you could block them, etc. with some Kynar. Yeah, and these are all over, the ones I've got are all over 16 volts, I think, so, you know, they're for a 1200, but the caps are pretty much the same. I think, I was counting them, and I think I might just have one or two left over at the end. And, yeah, we've got every size we need in a 1200 cap kit. So, there's a tip for you. If you've got a 1200 cap kit, you've got a 600, you can use the caps. There might be, some of the larger ones might not fit very well, 100 microphones, because they might have a bigger footprint. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, let's get a 10 on. Yeah, and the band was towards the top. Now, unlike on the 1200, where you've got the silhouette there, there's no clue there which way. Oh, there is. There's a positive. See the white positive there in the now? And the... But you see, hang on. This is where I get confused. The positive, I thought there was the band on these ones. I don't think it is. I'm getting confused with tantalums now. Yeah, it's just the same as any other electrolytic. The band there indicates the negative on these, which is interesting, because I could have sworn it was the other way around on these. So you can see that's going to fit. It's pretty tight, but it's going to fit. And yes, we've got a little bit of vinegar around there. I'm not fussed about that. We're going to clean up in a minute anyway. So let's just... Yes, let's try and get the solder nearby. Hang on. There we go. And yeah, I'm just going to move this. I do have some tweezers now from Commodore, so I might use those in a little bit. I can't see that top one. I think that's as near as damn it, to be honest, because we have got enough clearance there. You can argue a little bit less, maybe. So let's just try and move it a little bit further down. And a little bit further to the right. I can cut into a top connection because it's... Yeah, there's a skill in this. You can see I managed to just rotate that. So now that spade is, you know, the tab on the cap is perfect position there. This is actually easier when I use a normal magnifier rather than the microscope here, because, like I say, I've lost my depth perception. I've not got stereoscopic vision. Well, I have got stereoscopic vision, but I'm looking at a single view, you know, it's one eye capture. It's like having one eye closed, really. There we go. So I can now clean up with some IPA, and I'll stick a little red mark on the top of the can here, just so I remember I've done this one. I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious because everything around it's going to look pretty clean. Yeah, and if that wire comes back to haunt me, I'll just plug it with some Kino. And I'm going to use some paper towel just to contain. Yeah, and I'll show you what I mean. It's like I'm going to put some paper towel here, and then I'm going to be brushing up that way, just because I don't want the splashes going all over the place. But just by virtue of having a little scrubbing toothbrush there, we can get right in between these, which we couldn't do with the cotton bud. Yeah, so if your cotton bud won't fit into a gap, just squash it down, and then it will get into the gap. If it doesn't get into the gap still, squash it further. So I think you'll agree, that is looking super clean and tidy now. Everything looks nice and shiny. We didn't need to flow anything around here, look. And that's the thing, your first thought may have been, oh, those caps look terrible. And if you, let's just try and get the focus, hang on. Yeah, just tilt the board. You can see they're pretty blooming good. Even the one there, I would have said that needed reflowing and that one needed reflowing, but look, they look fine. They look absolutely fine. Anyway, that's one down, quite a few to go. Yeah, so not the most effective use of my time in terms of the way I'm approaching this, because if I just removed them all and then cleaned up all the pads and then fit all the caps, it would be, well, a lot quicker. Anyway, I'm going to stick a red dot on that cap. I don't care that I'm sort of covering the part number slightly. You can still see it through the red ink. Anyway, I'll do these two next, I think. Yeah, and there we go. That area's looking super clean and tidy now. There's no corrosion at all around there, no flux, nice and glossy. It looks good as new, and better than new, better than factory. yeah, so that's that side done. We've got these two here that are hay. I'm going to leave those till the end. Turning my attention to this area over here, I'm going to remove these two through holes now, just because it's going to make it a bit easier clearance wise dealing with these things here. So yeah, the way I'm going to do that is just use the dissolver pump and pull them through. I think, you know, just heat the pin, pull it through. I just find it the easiest way. You could try and just use nothing but something like a dissolver station, but from experience what happens is you just end up having to heat and reheat the pads. Just try and remove what solder we can. I'm not sure we removed much there. It's one of those things where more time in heat and a bigger sized tip, and you may just get it straight off that way. One of the pins is loose there, so it's going to heat, wobble in at the same time. Be gentle though, because you know what, the corrosion could be around it. There we go, it's come off. Yeah, it smells a bit fishy. Yeah, the pads are okay there. And the pads on that cap are fine, pads on there are fine. So anyway, that's those out of the way. So, same old thing really. Scratch the solder points, remove them all. Yeah, so a quick update here. It's taking me longer using the microscope than it does using the normal magnifier. So yeah, you can see we're making some progress here. Things look dirtier than they actually are. It's like it just needs a toothbrush in this whole area. Got the three caps off there. You need to pay attention to the points where the modulator goes there. You could of course remove the modulator. And you can see that I tinned these vias here as well. Even though they're alright, there's no real massive corrosion on this. It's got away pretty moderately really. So yeah, it looks terrible under the microscope, but actually to the, just macro on the camera and to my magnifier and up close, it looks really, really clean at the moment. But anyway, when this has been toothbrushed, it'll be like new. So it's got three 100s there, and it's like they go up with the band, up with the band, down with the band. It's worth perhaps taking photos before you start, and then I've just got these two over here to do yet. Those are looking pretty green. Anyway, I'll report back. Yeah, and it goes without saying, obviously if you've got loads of corrosion, you want to check any traces and vias and things before you stick your caps on. But everything's good on this. So we've got 4 left. These ones are going to be a bit of a PITA, because, well, look how close they are to the choke here. Now, these are ones I might cut off, I don't know. I don't like cutting caps off. I know there's a number of channels that do that, and they have good success with it. I just don't like it. Because you do put, well, depending on how you do it, you know, you are putting stress on the pads. If they are on the last legs, you will lose a pad, that's for sure. But it's like anything, you can get good at developing any technique, really. You know, hot air is the other thing, and that was what I used to do more often than not, hot air. But the reason hot air doesn't work very well with something like this is because of the oxides and things on the pin there. You know, it changes the makeup of the solder surface, and the heat doesn't pass, so you've got to heat the thing quite a lot hotter than you may expect. See, I can't even get that in there. I'm pressing right into the cap here to avoid touching the choke. I don't care if I get solder everywhere here. I think that's tinned. I don't know. I think we'll get this one off first, because then it just gives us a little bit more room to manoeuvre with the other one. So I'm going to use the really fine, well, I say really fine, it's not very fine. The fine tip I've got on the Heiko is squidged in there. Heat that side, there we go. Just get that off the board, it's off. And then I can now tin that other thing up by, again, squishing right into the cap, trying to... this is the thing, I'm touching the choke again there. I don't know, I think I did it there. But I touched the choke, I don't know. And it's only the plastic part, but anyway, nevertheless, it's something to avoid. I'm going to heat this side up first, and then, hang on, try and squeeze right in. Down there like that, that's it, there we go. Now, when fitting the other caps, give yourself more clearance. So in other words, align them more to the right side here to give yourself more clearance on the left side. At factory, these would have been automatically, you know, pick and place machines and things like that, putting the components down probably. So that's why they're nice and central, and the choke probably went on the last. Yeah, 47, 16 volts. So they're fine. Remember, the most we've got on here is 12. So despite the fact that these are smaller, well, that just helps. And that's something to consider perhaps when you're ordering caps. If you're going to order the caps up separately to recap one of these. And look, we could just give ourselves a crazy amount of clearance here now. It's like, why would we want to get near, where's the tool gone now? Why would we want to get near that choke when we can be all the way down here, look. I will just get those 2 through holes on while I'm here as well, but I'm not going to show you that, I'll just show you the end result. And they're so easy to get those, because the holes, you can see, are unblocked. We unblocked those before with just using the solder sucker. The solder sucker's an engineer, desolder pump by the way, in case anyone asks, because occasionally someone says, what's that solder sucker thing? And that came from Andrew Littleboy, so very much appreciate. And Andrew Littleboy sent me some mains lead extensions as well, some 8-way ones, which was an absolute lifesaver, because it just came at a time when my money was in an absolute mess leading up to Christmas actually. So thanks very much for that, Andrew, for those 2 things. And we got something else coming up from Andrew Littleboy that he sent 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say. And I worked on it all 2022, I think. And then it's been with Dennis, a part of it, 2023. And then Dennis got back to me just around after Christmas, I think, in the last month or 2. And I've got a new part for that, so I'll be showing that video soon. And again, thanks to Andrew Littleboy. So you can see a little bit of flux up there. That's the sort of thing that'll come off when we toothbrush it in a bit. So before I do the last ones and have a clean up, I'm just going to switch it on, I'm just going to test it. I've still got those 2 to do there. Just make sure nothing blows up. Video's not as good as a 1200 if I'm honest. And I'm talking about like really minor on the output of the DAC. The 1200 does give slightly better video. Might be something to do with the tantalum that's on a 1200, and obviously Lisa is the thing that outputs on there, so it's subtly different, isn't it? But I mean, it's as good as a 500. Yeah, so these two caps there, absolutely despise doing these. So I'm going to try and get the keyboard hood off. And yeah, there is a technique to this. You can just sort of just pull the sides sort of marginally outwards so you can unclip it. You can sort of, I think, get like a screwdriver somewhere down here. It might be there, and then just pull that out marginally. There we go, and it comes off on that side. And then you can do the same on the other side. There we go. Just come off, look. Put that out of the way. We'll get some Captain tape down there. So I've got some old pieces of Captain tape here. I'll reuse this stuff because it doesn't go bad. All that happens is the sticky aspect to it, well, stops being sticky. And cheap Captain tape, even at its best, will not stay in position. You see, like, we're right up against that connector. The iron tip is actually pressing against the connector. You can feel it. And the Captain tape here is not staying where it's told. And it's somehow smushed down that way. There we go, without getting onto the video thing. There we go, that'll do. Put it back. Oh, it's all sticking on my hands now. Why would it stick to the connector but it sticks to my fingers? This is what I want to know. This is far worse than the 1200s have done. I mean, there's no space there. I can't even get that in. I can't even get that in there. Is that melting the connector? Yes, it is. Look, even though there's Captain tape there, you can see that. Can you see it's melted that? Look, it's melted that one as well. Oh God, it's like 3 layers of Captain tape and it's still melting. I'm going to cut them, I think. I'm going to cut these two out because I'm just going to make a melted mucky mess in that area, because I'm just going to melt everything, aren't I? Not further than that. I mean, how has that happened? How has that happened when the Captain tape was right up against them? I don't know. It's ironic, Captain tape sticking to the metal tool now as well. It's like you can sort of reshape these if you've got any edges like that. Anyway, I'll get the file onto them and say. See, the thing is, I'm not even going to be able to get the cutters in here. I can't even get the cutters in to cut them. Oh my God. I don't understand how the Captain tape did not protect those there then. There's like 4 layers of it there at the bottom. Makes me think the connector to the top's melted as well, probably. Yeah, it has. Can you see that? Even with the Captain tape on it, can you see we've got some little melt marks there? So, I don't know. That's cheesed me off, that. Really cheesed me off. Yeah, I may regret this. I can't even twist them. Nothing to grip onto. Oh my God. What I don't understand is how it's twisted so far around and yet somehow it's still joined. Like, how does it not come off when it's like that way around now? See, in theory, if you're careful doing this, and I'm not being at the moment, it's the legs should somehow come out of the can. There we go, like that. I mean, it's going to be a challenge just getting the braid into that gap. I think. No, there's enough space there. But we do need to get fairly close to the pads. Oh, and the audio connectors. What's going on there? That's a leg. I wonder what that was then. I thought it was something to come off the board. I'm just de-muppetifying it to make it look like a Muppet hasn't worked on it. Oh, that looks terrible when it's, as I said, we've got pink bits of the white plastic now. God, that looks terrible, doesn't it? A little bit there hanging on for its dear life look. Right, that's it. Those last two traumatised me. So I was able to smooth off these somewhat here, and there was only a tiny little mark on that white thing there. So yeah, I want to go this way around. So if we put this back on, there we go. Yeah, so no one will ever know. He doesn't look bad. You can see. Anyway, that's it. Done. All recapped, I think. I don't think. Oh, hang on. There's that one. Yeah, I'll get that. Oh, hang on, there's that one as well. Yeah, we've got two more through holes. Those are the only things I haven't done. I'll do those. So let's test the keyboard. And yeah, I've got this plastic chip carrier on the back here just to isolate it. And it's a case of just lifting the hood up here, inspecting. They look pretty good, but from experience, you've got to get these in just the right way. And what I mean is, if I just hang on, lift the hood. I think that's in. It's not sort of pressing in like firmly. And when I said the right way, you've got to have the cable flexed like a certain way. I'm not sure if this is a new cable, because where would that fit inside the case? It must have had a fold or something somewhere. But anyway, if we, and then just make sure there's no shorts there, and let's just power that on. Make sure the caps lock comes on. Yeah, it did. Came on, then went off. So the keyboard got its reset. And we need a floppy drive next. And I've set it to Amiga test kit there. If you just watch that, hopefully we'll see the tracks increment in a minute. There you go, track numbers changing. And it booted, woohoo! So there you go, I didn't have to change any boot options by holding down both mouse buttons or anything like that. It just worked. Not everything will work that way, but yeah, lots of things do. So we can test out the memory there. Of course, the key here was the keyboard. Keyboard. So let's see if the keyboard works. Oh, 8's not working. Now, this is probably that flex ribbon. Yeah, it is. So when the flex ribbon's folded a certain way, you saw I could get 8 there. So I might need to just cut like 0.5 millimetre off the length of that. But I'm not going to do that until we get to the point where we want to put this into a case. So yeah, that's going to be the next part, hopefully. See if we can get a case that someone's, you know, got spare from one where the motherboard was scrapped or something. And we'll try and build this up into a fully complete system. Now, we don't have the number pad. That's one of the things on the 600, isn't it? We don't have the numeric keypad there. But yeah, all the keys work. I did have that problem with the, hang on, we've still got it there, F6. Yeah, there's a whole column there. If I press, hang on, no, there isn't. There's 8 and 6, 8 and F6 not working. If I just press slightly on the flex ribbon, there you go. You can see it works. And all I did there was just press lightly like that, and then suddenly it started working. So if I power that off, that tells me that it is just about the edge of it. You know, they get worn. They get worn. So I'll just try and lift the hood up. Really difficult to try and get that side. That's it. Just pull that out. Yeah, inspecting this, you know, the tips, the very edge of the tips there just get a little bit worn. If I have a quick look with magnification, they look all right, to be honest. They look all right, but this is what you get on these when they've been connected and disconnected several times. That's it. You start to get issues. So yeah, I mentioned that before. Only connect them at the point where you're ready to test and rebuild it. I like this frame. It's everything about this keyboard just feels so much better than the other ones. You know, if you look at the quality of the keys, they look like the high-tech ones. They do look like the high-tech ones on the early A500 keyboards. The spacebar's a little bit yellowed here, so I'll just get a tiny bit of H2O2 on that maybe. It might just clean up, but the keyboard in general is in excellent condition there. There's no marks or anything. It's pretty clean, really. So I am very pleased. I'll put the keyboard out of the way. just trying to remove the ROM. I'll sort of explain that and show you why in a minute. I just think this version of Kickstart is oddball compared to like 3 onwards, really, or 3.1 onwards. So what's been highlighted to the right? Now I've got a ROM here that came from the amazing Stephen Leary. It was a gift as part of the, I'd say thanks for doing the TF-MSX testing. There'll be a link to that at the top right. So it's Kickstart 3.2.1. 3.2.2's out now, so technically I've got a license. Well, I have got a license, not technically. I have a license to this, so I can update it. I'm just going to get this in. Pin 1 line to the left, but there's a gap on the left, the first 2 pins. Right, let me power that on. I'm just going to put a finger on that to make sure it doesn't go nuclear. Now, bear in mind, this is from a 500/2000, but I guess it'll work on the 600. I don't think there's much of a difference there. Yeah, and you haven't seen this yet. This will be another video. I'll link top right when it's up. It's loading Devil's Temple. What was happening before was getting stuck on a blue screen. Now, I may still get stuck on a blue screen. There could still be a fault with this, but I think it's about Kickstart. So when the screen goes blue here... No, we've got a blue screen still. So actually, the issue is there's not enough RAM. There is not enough RAM. Oh, there's a fault. But you see, at that point, the screen just goes blue like that. It stops flashing on here, and here we are, just stuck on this blue screen. Which is why I decided to change the Kickstart there. So 3.2 will work on this. And actually, now thinking about it, doesn't Kickstart 3.2 need 2 meg? It might need 1 meg, actually. I don't think you can run it on an Amiga that's not got 1 megabyte. So, yeah, that's an interesting point there with the newer Kickstart. Yeah, I am putting pressure on that. I shouldn't really do that. And of course, a flat blade is the best way to get chips out of sockets like this. And please God, don't let someone say use a chip extractor. These sockets are so stiff. If you try using a chip extractor on that, you will bend the pins. It doesn't matter how good the chip extractor is. You can see look, that's welded in there. So tight, and it's a combination of probably that EEPROM having a bit of solder on the pins. Actually, I don't like picking up chips with solder on them like that. Is that going to damage the socket? I think it may be doing. Might need to replace that yet. Let's just have an inspection. Yeah, you see, sometimes these get bits of solder on, and I can see solder on those. The socket is okay though. All the pins are all right. Anyway, let's just get its original mask run back in. The point is here, and I talked about this in the GoTech video, as soon as you start booting things from floppy, well, expect lots of compatibility issues. That's the thing. You can think, you want to go back to the old school floppy games and things. You're just going to have a whole world of pain because of differences in Kickstart versions and stuff like that. WHD load is the way to go. Certainly on something like a 600, because we've got the IDE socket there. You'd be crazy not to install an IDE hard disk and just run WHD load. Floppy based games from ADF. You will just have all sorts of compatibility issues with something like this. With the 500, not so much if you get 1.3 on there. And you could obviously make the ROM dual Kickstart, be able to switch between 3.1 and 2, etc. And that would solve these problems. But even R-Type, I tried to play R-Type off here, freezes on the title screen. And it's because of that Kickstart version. If I just change this to Amiga Test Kit, Control Amiga, it's doing a reset. That shows me there's no issue with that particular part of the board there where you get corrosion, because if you can't do Control Amiga and have it reset, well, you've got some fault to deal with. This TV is making an interesting noise, which is, there we go, just the video cable I think. And if we just test out the memory, we've got 1 meg, we'll just let that go around once, just to rule out a RAM fault. But I actually think the issue with that game, and a few of the games I've been having on this, trying to run from floppy, is about RAM. Actually, I think I need more than a meg. And when I say games from floppy, newer games like Devil's Temple, whilst it may work with half a meg or a meg, well, it's not working here, is it? It's not working with Kickstart 3.2.1 either. The machine seems to check out okay. I just think it needs some more RAM, so I think I'm going to need to get a 1 meg RAM upgrade for this as my next port core, just to reevaluate, test things, because we had the similar sort of issue, didn't we, when we were trying to boot from, and it's gone round there, look, when we were trying to boot from this, oh, it's not gone, oh yeah, it has gone around 4 times, when we were trying to boot from this, the IDE, the issue there is all of the drives consume loads of memory in terms of buffers and stuff, and we ended up with not enough RAM to run anything. I mean, I would have thought there was still enough RAM left actually. It was like 8 or 900k left, and when I tried to load everything, it was coming up saying XRAM, like the expansion RAM. It's trying to do something on expansion RAM, and there isn't any. Why it's trying to do that, I don't know, because it should work with 1 meg. Yeah, so a massive thanks to ElectronAsh. This is incredible. I love it. I love it. I finally got, well, almost got an Amiga 600. Yeah, join me in part 2, where we'll pick up and try and get this into some sort of case, test out the remaining things on it, get some more RAM, and then, you know, we can test a few more games and things from compact flash card here. I do hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Coffee and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.